The Denver Nuggets get their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight win. Get their win over the Golden State Warriors. We got to talk about it. Also, Nikola Jokic, player of the week. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic in the month of March, they were special. We got to talk about it. Got to talk about the things that went well and the things they can continue to do to keep up this win streak. This is Swiper, and this is Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. I'm your host, Swiper. Glad to be here with you talking about the Denver Nuggets after their exciting wonderful win over the Golden State Warriors with tremendous second half defense. Also going to talk about some awards that were just announced by the NBA within the last hour. We're going to talk about the months that Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic had. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Jokic's MVP case, talking about Jamal Murray's second team all NBA case. Because I actually think that for whatever reason, narratives, people not watching Denver, if you compare them to their peers, Jamal Murray, I think has an argument for one of the 10 best players in the world so far this season, and Nikola Jokic as the best in the world. We'll get to that in a minute. Plus, some other habits they need to continue to pick up on so they can go back and possibly win another championship on the defensive end. So let's get to it, y'all. So the Denver Nuggets yesterday, they played versus the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, no Jimmy Butler. Steph Curry is still out. No Al Horford in this game either. The Denver Nuggets, they're playing versus the team that has been trying to find its identity. They've obviously been dealing with a lot of different things this year. Will Richard didn't play, obviously, and then Moses Moody went down for basically, I think, the rest of the season. They're in their own contrition battle right now, and they've lost most of their best players. And so the Warriors are still a very well-coached team. Steve Kerr has done a tremendous job this season. He's been extremely, extremely good about getting a lot of play out of players like Brandon Podziemski, who had 23 points. He's been average. I think he's got 20 points in 4 straight games. Kristaps Porzingis is coming off of 3 straight really good games, including this one. He had 23. He was 5 of 5 from the three-point line. And then obviously, Draymond. Draymond is Draymond, one of the best defensive players in the world. Pat Spencer, Gary Payton had 16 in this game. So I want to shout out to the Warriors. I want to shout out to Steve Kerr because especially in the first half, they had the Denver Nuggets down 53-46. And the Nuggets, quite simply, they could not generate enough looks. And if they did generate enough looks, they weren't converting them. Because if you look at the way this game was kind of flowing, the Nuggets got up to they were looking like they were going to be able to take a commanding lead in the first quarter. But then they just slowly but surely started missing a lot of shots. And David Adamman talked about this as well. They were missing open shots in the first quarter. In that first quarter, Jokic had 7 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds. And it was just kind of like, all right, Jokic, he took 7 shots. It looks like he's about to be on the way for one of those games. And then Jamal Murray, he had 6 points in the first quarter, but he had 5 rebounds and 2 assists. But they were down 23-28. And a lot of this was they were getting opportunities and weren't converting. And then on the other end of that spectrum, the Warriors got 3 offensive rebounds. And on those offensive rebounds on these long jumpers, they would just get these opportunities to put the ball back up into the hole. And in the first quarter, they were at a deficit. But it felt like, hey, Denver, if the ball just starts bouncing right in your direction, then slowly but surely you can get back into this game. But that is absolutely not the way the game went, y'all. So what happened is the second quarter starts. Bruce Brown, who's shooting 43% on threes since January 1st, gets a nice corner three. Actually, that might have been the late second one that he hit. And then the Nuggets, they're tied. Jamal Murray takes a technical free throw. And so it's kind of a back and forth affair for a little bit. But then the Warriors, in the midst of that second quarter, I want to say they went on like a 9-0 run where the Nuggets were just not making the decisions they needed to make. It was originally an 8-0 run for Denver, and then the Warriors responded with going on a run of their own. And so Jokic came back in the game in the second quarter down 2 with 7:11 left. And so Jokic went on a nice little 6-0 run himself. But then the Nuggets, the thing that they have been struggling with, they 100% can't guard the split action versus Utah, versus the Warriors, and versus the Spurs. and other game they played this year, where when a team off the ball starts maneuvering and trying to set back screens and pin downs, the Nuggets, for whatever reason, and I'm talking about Jamal Murray got beat off this, Cam Johnson got beat off this, Peyton Watson got beat off this, where they're so caught into what's happening on the ball, they'll then not pay attention. They'll not pay attention to what's happening on the other side of the floor. And so Draymond or whoever was sitting at the top of the key, and they were just dicing Denver. And I was just so confused. I'm like, David Adamman, what are you going over in practice and what are you reviewing in the film room that for whatever reason, and honestly, any team that has a lot of guards, when they start doing all of that, the Nuggets are just like, they're discombobulated defensively to where the communication breaks down and they do not look like a competent defensive team. Now, they made adjustments in the second half, and that they deserve a lot of credit for that. But that is something to look out for, because even if you all go back to the Utah Jazz game that they barely won, it was a lot of that as well, where they just quite simply are not getting to where they need to get on the floor. And, let alone like allowing people to get into the paint. It's just discipline stuff that the Nuggets are struggling with defensively. So I want to make sure I note that in the first half, it wasn't good. And it was 46-53. I have in my notes here, the execution has been poor. And I didn't know what they've been going over in film, because it was very clear. Jokic at 15, 8, and 4. He was a -10, but that wasn't like a -10 off of Jokic. Like, that was the frustrating thing. I thought Jokic was making good decisions. He was only shooting 46% from the field in the first half, but I thought his process was good. I thought he was engaged defensively. But the team, the offense was just bad. Peyton Watson, I think that like he had some good moments yesterday, but Peyton Watson had a terrible pass in the Jokic where he kind of like, you could mouth off to the camera, like going the other end, where Peyton Watson threw the ball mad late to Jokic. Jokic is, he's calling up for the ball when they're, dribbling the ball off the floor, and he's asking for Peyton to give him the ball, and Peyton gives it to him late, but he gives it to him with the dude that's like 4 feet from Jokic. So it's a pass is intercepted, and then it leads to a score. And so it's just little stuff with Peyton. I think Peyton is like, which is all development stuff, which is perfectly fine. He's still learning like timing and when to do things and when not to do things. It's just even some of the shots that he had yesterday, and similarly versus Utah at the top of that second quarter, where, some shots you don't need. Like the Nuggets had a transition opportunity. They had advantages, and Peyton Watson shot like a pull-up mid-range shot, and it just wasn't a good shot for the moment. And I think as he continues to get older and as he continues to refine his skill, he's going to become like a basketball genius at those things, because he works hard and he pays attention. So these are all like growing pains, I think, for him. But yesterday, again, all in all, I thought that he was, very discombobulated yesterday. He had 10.6 rebounds and 5 assists. So it ended up like balancing out in the scoreboard, but he's only 3-11 from the field. I think he continues to get better. Jokic yesterday, like I said, man, in the game, he had 25, 15, 8, and 1, but he had 25, 15, and 8 through 3 quarters. He literally didn't do anything else, basically, in the fourth quarter when he came back in, except for grab 2 additional rebounds. Jokic in that third quarter, though, and this is like when you just need a reminder game that Jokic is the best in the world and that he's a one-of-one player. Jokic had 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, and was a plus 19 in the third quarter. 4 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, and he just absolutely took it to the Golden State Warriors. Like, Sombor shuffles, he found like drove by Kristaps, Draymond tried to double baseline. He spun away from the baseline and shot a floating fade away hook from the middle of the paint that he made. He had a step out 3 that he made on the step back over Dre. He was just in full control. And when Jokic is playing that well, and when the other players around him start hitting their shots, it's really, really difficult to beat this Denver Nuggets team. And Julian Strawther helped him close out that game. And I believe at the end of 3 quarters yesterday, the Nuggets had a 86-74 lead after Jokic like just put a whooping on the Golden State Warriors, and they won that quarter 40-21. And what you did see was that there was a change in intensity, y'all. There was a change in intensity and defensive execution. There was a change in their focus off the ball, that when they were, now Jokic got caught again when Draymond like snuck behind him, but Draymond did a really good job of that. But what happens is like when you're playing off the ball, one of the things you have to have is trust that whoever's guarding the ball, they're going to handle theirs. You have to worry about handling yours. So if that means I got to watch out for this switch, I got to watch out for who's coming over the top or going underneath. If they're trying to set a pin down on me or they're trying to set a flare on me, I have to make sure I am in the best position that I need to be, and I'm disrupting the path between the man and ball. That's what you have to do. And what happens is the Nuggets, they get so fixated on what is the other player doing that's guarding the ball, protecting the drive, that they then overthink everything. It's just stuff that can't happen. But that all got fixed up in the second half. They had a 78 defensive rating in the second half, I believe, yesterday. On the other side, I want to talk a little bit more about this, but I'm going to talk to you all about Jokic and Murray because they had very sneakily great months. We're going to talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Welcome to the 5-hour energy flavor draft with 18 different flavors to choose from, including new options like confetti craze, fruity rainbow, or cotton candy. There's something for everyone. The board is set. The flavors are ready. Now, I got my number one pick for a 5-hour energy flavor draft, and as y'all know, I love cherry. Love cherry. I am absolutely going with cherry every single day of the week. I love the taste. I always, when I travel and drive great distances, I always have a 5-hour energy on me because you just need to make sure you have the extra boost in case you need it. So 5-hour energy shots give you a boost with zero sugar. So find your new flavor of 5-hour energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Also, workplace chaos, deadline stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one person you have to fill, the one position you have is still sitting open. With the pressures on, and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsor jobs. Indeed, sponsor jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsor jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsor jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. This is a job for Indeed sponsor jobs. We'll be back for the second segment here at Locked On Nuggets. We are back for the second segment here at Locked On Nuggets. Thank y'all so much for being here with us each and every day. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube side. We are just a couple hundred subscribers away from 12,000 subscribers on Locked On Nuggets. Please, if you're watching this, help us out. It makes a massive difference in the algorithm. Also, if you're listening to this on Apple iTunes or Spotify, give us a 5-star review. That way more and more people can listen to great content being made here at Locked On Nuggets. And if you want more great content, check us out on the Everydayer Club. The Everydayer Club, where you can have exclusive conversations with Matt Moore, Ryan Blackburn. You can hear about all the great stuff that's happening with the Denver Nuggets. They have brand new articles that are available for you to read. They got different things for you to tap into. And you can also talk directly to us in the Discord, y'all. So go to lockedonnuggets.supercast.com to join us with the Everydayer Club, and you get your first month of Everydayer Club free when you use code MARCH. All right, y'all. So Nikola Jokic just won the NBA Player of the Week in the Western Conference. Nikola Jokic, the man who people said is cooked, the man who people said is no longer in the MVP race, he just won Player of the Week in the Western Conference. Now, here's the thing, y'all. 26 points, 17 rebounds, 14 assists, 4-0 record, 44% from three and 57% from the field and 77% from the line. This was an incredible week for Nikola Jokic. He's been absolutely dominant, and he deserves a lot of credit for just how well he has played. And, we obviously take it for greatness sometimes. We take Jamal Murray for greatness for granted sometimes. Not to be left out, by the way, Jamal Murray averaged 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists this week with 55% from the field, 51% from three on 9 attempts a game, and 96% from the free throw line. 31, 5, and 8 on 55, 51, 96 on the way to going 4-0. That is incredible, you all. The Denver Nuggets have the best duo in the NBA. They especially have been at this level during the regular season. Like, we haven't seen them play this well in the regular season together. Just an incredible performance for the both of them. But one thing I wanted to note, because there's been a lot of rumors about Jokic, and I want to make sure that I'm correcting the things that need to be corrected when I can, because I watch every dribble of the Denver Nuggets team the same as many of you do. Jokic in the month of March, so after he took some time to adjust from the injury where he had some really good games and not so good games in the month of February. This month, in 16 games, Jokic averaged 26 points a game, 14 rebounds, 12 assists, 1.5 steals, a block. He shot 58% from the field and 33 from three and 83 from the line for a 66.2 true shooting. And he was a plus 98 in the month of March. I don't think people realize that while he hasn't been the first 32 games of the year when he was, which is 29, 13, and 11 on 71 true shooting, which was like literally unprecedented, had never happened before for any player that's ever touched the sport. He has, since that point, regressed to still being an all-time great player with all-time great numbers and all-time great impact. And so I understand that people have been frustrated with some things from Jokic. But hey, Jokic has been back for 28 games now. He's averaging 26, 14, and 11 over that stretch. 53, 33, 80 splits. He still has 63 true shooting, y'all. Like, I just think that the narrative around Jokic is so rooted in what people want to happen or what people want to believe instead of what's actually going on at this point, y'all. If you look at a lot of the impact stats, you look at all of like the data baller stuff, you look at EPM, you look at just anything on off, Jokic is either 1, 2, or 3 and everything, and mostly number 1. Mostly number 1 in everything. And Jokic is having a one-of-one season. Like, yo, I just wish that we could have more honest dialogue about it. Jokic is averaging 28, 13, and 11 this year. 28, 13, and 11 on 57, 39, 83. 67.4% true shooting. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, y'all? I just think that for whatever reason, if you just even look at his games that he's having recently, 25, 15, and 8, that's a mid-game. 33, 15, and 12, 23, 21, and 19, 23, 17, and 17, 22, 14, and 14, 22, 8, and 9, 29, 14, and 9, a massive win, 8, 7, and 14, 24, 16, and 14. Like, what are we doing? 31, 20, and 12 versus San Antonio with 5 stocks. 16, 12, and 13 and another win. 32, 14, and 13 versus the best defense in the world. 38, 8, and 5 with 2 stocks. 28, 12, and 13. For whatever reason, Jokic, in the way that he is playing, is getting swept under the rug, and I don't understand why. And then Jamal Murray, not to be outdone, y'all. In the month of March, he is averaging 26, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 49% from the field, 44 from 3 on 7 attempts, mostly pull-ups, 89% from the free throw line on a 64 true shooting. Like, y'all, on the season, Jamal is at 25.5, 4.5 rebounds, 7.2 assists, a steal, 48, 43, 88 splits. It's literally the duo that the Nuggets have playing basketball is the best in the world. It's one of the greatest tandems we have ever seen. And it's only getting better. Literally, it is only getting better as the season goes on. Lord willing, they can stay healthy. Now, Cam Johnson went down with a back spasms, but, apparently he was trying to get back in the game, but it was a blowout, so they didn't want to chance it. Spencer Jones had a hamstring thing that he ran into, but hopefully it's not going to be serious. And then Zeke Nnaji got hit in the head on a stop that he had on KP. So they obviously need to get their guys back. AG will be back, had a little bit of a calf tweak. They just want to be careful with him. But, y'all, they don't play till Wednesday, y'all. So they should have everybody ready to rock and go by the Utah game. And if Jones misses time, then Zeke Nnaji, who deserves credit, can step into that spot. So, again, the Nuggets have two of the 10 best players in the regular season this year. They've dealt with all kind of injuries, but they're still, like, just utterly dominant this year, man. And there's some things they got to work on. The defense still has to continue to get more consistent. That's going to be the talking point for me, especially. You got to be able to lock in. But we'll talk about that more on the other side, because I think there's some things that they did, but things they need to continue to improve on. We'll talk about more here at Locked On Nuggets. So it's tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes it's a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient, sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth, wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's a relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to turbotax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment. We'll be back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. We are back for the final segment here of Locked On Nuggets. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much each and every day for joining us and being a part of our great Locked On Nuggets family over here. You know, we're just talking about a little bit about Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, and I just can't continue to say enough how dominant they have been this year. They have a plus 12 net rating this season. They got a 130 offensive rating when they play this year. They've just been spectacular. They've been spectacular. When Aaron Gordon plays, they got a plus 20 net rating this season between the three of them. They've just been, once again, spectacular. The offense is elite. The defense is very good in spots, but obviously they're still trying to figure some stuff out. So, you know, it just needs to continue to be talked about that. They obviously have things they need to continue to work on, but I think there's a lot for people to be excited about. I also will say this, y'all. Hey, Spencer Jones, let's say he's down for a few games or a game or whatever. Zeke Nnaji has to be able to get some tick. He has to. I do not agree with the people who continue to say that Zeke Nnaji is not somebody that can play on this roster. I can continue to say that when you're looking at what Zeke Nnaji offered to this team as a defender, they need to continue to play him. Because when he came into the game yesterday, he was crazy. He was great. He did so many little things for them defensively, from switching out, from being able to guard in the post versus KP. He got switched onto a guard and immediately switched onto a guard and forced a 24-second shot clock violation. They need someone else that is a big player that when Aaron Gordon is not there and not available, that they can say, hey, we need you to get in the game. We need you to be a rim protector. We need you to switch. And we need you to be able to take on matchups in the post and on the perimeter. And that's what Zeke does. They don't need more offense. Like, Zeke is a good enough vertical threat that if you put him in the dunker spot, you can manufacture some things. But Zeke, he fits so many things that this team needs. Now, he's not a great player. He makes a lot of mistakes. He has weaknesses. But, dude, I think yesterday was just another example of Zeke offering true viability to this roster. It's just great, man. It was just great. I thought he played really well. He deserves a lot of credit for what he did yesterday. But again, y'all, the biggest thing with Denver, y'all, is the thing that I continue to stress with this team defensively. What they really struggle with more than anything is not even like personnel stuff. They just, sometimes it feels like, at least, they don't trust each other to do their job, or they're over helping because they're trying to do too much. Because what happens is when they contain from the three-point line and they shrink the defense, they'll do it in such a way where they're basically abandoning shooters. Or if they shrink too far into the paint, then they'll leave wide open shooters either in the corner or at the wing. Jamal Murray, one of the things that comes to mind immediately is that versus Utah, but also versus the Spurs when they lost when Devin Vassell had 37 points. Jamal Murray will drop super low on a roll, on a short roll, and he'll leave a really good shooter wide open because, again, he's trying to overcompensate a little bit. But you got to be able to play that in between better. And I know that's like when they're discussing coverages, you got to be able to compress the court while also not completely abandoning your responsibility out there. Now, that's very difficult to do. Jokic, when he's playing at his best, he's playing with extreme aggression at the level. He's on the in-between place in the drop, pick, and roll, but he's like still getting his hands up to be able to contest a lob. But when he's playing at his worst is when his feet are undisciplined, when he's turning his body sideways or horizontal to the line out of bounds, either facing the bench or away. But when he's good and doing the things he needs to do, it's a square up. It's a square up, and it's like, all right, bet. We know what we got from you. Christian Brown, when Christian Brown's at his best, he's keeping his hands out of the cookie jar and playing discipline. The same thing Cam Johnson does. When Cam Johnson's playing good defensively, he's able to catch you off that screen. He'll body you, use his body to wall you off, and then he puts his hands out and keeps him out of the cookie jar for the most part. So the Nuggets have defenders. They have defenders. But it's about executing the scheme well and trusting one another that you are going to do the job to the best of your ability. And I think as the season continues to roll on, y'all, they got Utah in that game coming up. They need to take care of business. No play around with Utah. This should be a game where you're like, we can't do this anymore. We can't mess around. Let's get the win versus Utah. Let's get a 7-0 win streak. And then you got San Antonio in Denver. You get San Antonio in Denver on Prime Video, and I believe that Wemby should be ready to play that game because they're trying to get the 1 seed as well. So then between that game, though, you got 2 days off between this Warriors game and then the game versus San Antonio or versus Utah, and then now you got Thursday and Friday off for the game versus San Antonio. So this should be a time where it's not about like proving to anyone but you that we know what we need to do defensively and that we can put together a very strong half versus a very good team, which they've done before and done in the stretch. But it needs to happen again. Y'all, the Nuggets, if y'all don't know this, the Nuggets are 9-2 in their last 11 games. They're 9-2 in their last 11 games. I think, and they're also 11-4. Well, actually, they're 11-5 in their last 15 games. Or 16 games, rather. So they're winning. They've turned up the dial on the winning stuff. They've been able to do the things they need to do and exit and close a lot of these games. And I think that's also a big thing. Like them being able to say that, like, we haven't been good enough. We need to really focus up. We need to make sure that in the clutch this year that our defense is getting better, that we're not just succumbing to pressure and that we're playing smart and we're doing the things we need to do. They've been showing it in the clutch as of late. They've been a much better team in the clutch. The Nuggets have the most clutch wins in the NBA in the month of March. They played 10 clutch games. They're 7-3 in those games. And they got a positive point differential as well in those games. That's big. That's huge, especially considering where they were prior to that. And they just have to continue to iron out their process, man. That's really one of the big things. Like, they can't turn the ball over in those stretches. They got to be able to trust that Jamal and Jokic are going to do the things that they need to do, that they're going to play consistently, that they're going to find ways to get stops on the defensive end, but also that their offense is going to take care of their business and they're going to cook. And having Aaron Gordon to be in that dunker spot matters a lot too, because just functionally for how this Denver Nuggets team plays, having somebody that's able to play in that spot and be somebody you can throw the lob to, or you could even give the ball to be somebody to take advantage of a cross match or a mismatch in the half court setting, that matters so much to their success level. And then defensively, having Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown and Cam Johnson and Peyton Watson and Bruce Brown all available for the roster for the team, it helps Jokic, it helps Jamal, all that stuff. It just adds to the process for the roster. So the biggest thing is defensive execution. As the season goes on, Can they be tighter in those details? And when the playoff come around, which is in less than a month, that they're able to realize that, hey, this is a big situation. This is a situation we need to get a good win in. These are situations we got to lock in here defensively and do the job. I expect for everybody, especially Christian Brown and Cam Johnson and AG, to be ready to rock defensively come playoff time. But y'all, let me know what you think in the comment section. How do you feel about yesterday's win versus Golden State? How do you feel that Jokic and Jamal Murray have been playing in the month of March? And do you think either one of them had an argument for second team All-NBA and then for MVP? And then what do you need to see from the Denver Nuggets defensively to believe in them and their title chances here in the next couple months? Y'all, this is Swiper. This is Locked On Nuggets. I'll see you on the other side.